Sister Jen. So my niece is a freshman at USC. Hopefully she'll be entering maybe with one of these orders. And I have Mass there tomorrow night at 9 p.m. So again, it's just a great joy. Something Sister Jenny said is very true. I do a lot of direct, overt vocation promotion, but a lot of it is indirect as well. So I go to parishes and high schools, Catholic high schools especially, youth groups, and give vocation talks. But one of the luxuries of myself and Father Mike being able to be full-time, I'll go wherever they will have me to speak. So certainly the Serrans who are already, you're on our team, and I'm speaking to the converted, correct? But yes, good. We're going to have to convince anyone here. But just being able to go and be present. I'm at USC and UCA Long Beach State at their Catholic Newman clubs regularly. Just being able to be present, that they see a priest regularly. Going to just helping out at a confirmation. If any campus minister or youth minister that I meet, I always give them my card. I said, call me. If you need help with confessions, if I can, I'll be there. If you just need help with Mass and present. But again, fostering those relationships, especially with these lay leaders and the other religious and priests at those parishes in those communities, because they're going to feel that much more confident when they have a young person that comes to them after confirmation retreat and says, you know what, I think God's calling me maybe to be a priest. And if they've met me and they've seen me in the retreat and the remember Father Sam when he was here 3 months ago? And maybe they go to a Catholic high school as well, and they've seen me at their high school. Then they see me at the Religious Ed Congress at Youth Day, and on and on and on, really building those relationships. And 2 and 3, 4 years later, forgetting that I had ever been there, I get that call and say, I remember when you were there. Next month I'm going to be at UC Riverside over President's Weekend. All of the UC Newman clubs have an annual conference, and there'll be about 300 or so Catholic university students from these secular campuses, from these UC campuses, and it happened last year. One of the guys whom I just randomly called up the UC, they call it the UCCC. I called up the people 4 years ago. They were going to have the conference at the University of San Diego, and they rotate between Northern and Southern California each year. And I found out about the conference. I went to UC Irvine. My vocation was nourished at the Newman Club at UCI. And I just called up and said, I'm coming. I'm just going to help with Mass and confessions and just be there. 3 years later, a young man calls me and says, Father Sam, do you remember we met at UCCC 3 years ago? I said, not really. But yes, I do remember, of course. And he said, I'm now discerning. And he was discerning with the Dominicans. He actually entered this fall with the Dominicans. I thought we had about an 80% chance the Dominicans, convince him, which is great because the vocation is God's vocation. It's not for us. But again, planting those seeds, establishing those relationships that might take years as God is just kind of allowing the growth to take place. Just being present to those things and allowing you to know the good work that we're doing. So Vianney Vocations being able to be here, which produce so many of the best vocations materials and books and pamphlets that we have. The Focus Seek Conference. I go to the high schools. I know that 99%, if not 100% of the young people aren't right now probably considering a vocation. But I talk to them about opportunities after high school or college graduation. 2 years as a focus missionary, Net Ministries, which are the national evangelization teams for high school ministry. Teams of 12, 6 guys and 6 girls. They essentially travel in a van and go from high schools and youth groups, evangelizing youth. That you can give a year or two of your life, kind of like with the Peace Corps or something like that, and then still have your career. But a lot of vocations then that get nourished from those ministry opportunities as well. So allowing our young people to know that there's fun and exciting and engaging and really beautiful ministry going on, whether they are called to consecrated life and priesthood or not. A lot of them maybe end up at least discerning, if not entering religious life or the seminary as well. So again, that culture of encounter, those opportunities, just building relationships. Directly, yes, I'll talk to you about vocations as directly and as intentionally as you need, but also just being present as well.
Yes, and another thing, we've also been a beneficiary of the Hilton Foundation as well. In 2014, we started a summer program because we find that this generation really loves to volunteer, and it's often during that time that they're discerning more fully, what is God calling me to? So we have a 2-week summer program every summer. We started in 2014. And it's a beautiful opportunity for young women to, some come almost as a come and see, but some really just want to volunteer. But it's been very fruitful, not only for our community, but for young women that are just actually just being open to religious life and have gone on to other communities as well. So, and we even have opportunities during the summer when we have Sisters 8-day retreats and weekend retreats, and we have a Thomas Aquinas College. Our postulant was one of the group of young women who would come on a van from Thomas Aquinas College to volunteer for the weekend because her friend was discerning religious life and wanted to know more. And of course, she never entered, but her friend did. So, as it often happens. So, but I think now you might want to have some time for questions and answers.
Do you have a relationship with the Focus people?
Very much. We have 5 Focus missionaries at USC, and there are 4 Focus missionaries, actually 5 now, at UCLA that we work very closely with. The Focus program, they do amazing work of evangelization on campus, and we actually look at our role as walking with the Focus missionaries themselves. They often don't have the support that they're necessarily looking for, so we're providing spiritual directors and everything for them. But also spending time with the missionaries, because they're the ones really on the front lines. They're getting to places on campus that we can't get to. And once they know what we're about and that we're not out there, one of our sisters called body snatchers, like we're not, like, do you want to be a sister before I even tell them my name? Once the missionaries know what we're about and that we're really here to just walk with, and that whatever vocation God is calling that person to, we want to help them activate it fully. So the missionaries are our first lines. They're bringing students to us constantly. They're recommending, please go talk to Sister Jenny. Please go talk to any of the priests that we have on campus. So Focus it's a beautiful program. They do great work. Thank you.
Yes, please. What type of opposition do you receive from college and university, the front office, and also from hostile student groups, Antifa-type groups? How do you get around that, and do you face opposition from them trying to do things on campus?
Yes. That's the simple answer. I have to say, we're very blessed at USC. There's 50,000 students at USC and 10,000 Catholics. So we have a giant Catholic center. We're located just a block north of campus. So technically we're not on the campus, which helps us. But the University of Southern California is considered one of the most religiously tolerant and diverse campuses in the world. There's over 160 countries represented and 80 world religions represented. So it really is a very tolerant environment, but we do receive opposition. When we're on campus, there's folks that you can just tell they're trying to trip us up, in whatever way they can. So we're mindful of that, but for the most part, very accepting, very, very tolerant campus.
I'll give one other perspective. I help out with the Cal State Long Beach Catholic Newman Club as well, which only just has club status. They don't have their own center. They don't have a full-time priest. They don't have any staff. It's student-run. They have a faculty advisor because that's one of the requirements to be club status, and they can use campus facilities. But they have pro-life events on campus. They'll have rosaries and things like that. When they have the pro-life event, obviously they got a lot of opposition and people shouting them down and all of those things. This will be the 5th year. They have really their main day, and I love it every year. I spend all of Ash Wednesday there, and they have a noon mass and a 5:30. I went there for the first time 5 years ago, so I had met the leaders at a young adult conference, and I found out that they didn't have a priest that was helping regularly. The priest who had been helping was now in Nazareth House and was elderly and wasn't able to come and everything, but they were still persevering the best they could. I gave them my card. I said, if you ever need anything, give me a call. About 6 weeks later, they called me up, Father Sam, we need a priest for our retreat up in Big Bear. Can you go? I had the evening free on Saturday. I said, absolutely, and that started a relationship. The first year I went and celebrated the noon mass and the 5:30. I had 4.5 hours in between, and I said, I'm not going to battle traffic to go back to the office in LA and come back. So I hung out with the students for a couple hours, and then after that, as we evaluated, I said, you know what? In between, we've got those 4.5 hours. I said, we're going to have adoration, and we're going to have confessions. And so I hear 4.5 hours of confessions, and usually another hour after the 5:30 Mass. And it's just so beautiful. It's in the student union, in their ballroom, and students in between will come for ashes or just adoration and confession. And I remember overhearing in the little break I took during confessions, I usually have no break during that 4.5 hours, and I overhear one of the students saying to one of the student leaders as she was signing up, she said, this is my favorite day of the year. She said, we have adoration and confessions on campus. It's only one day a year. USC has, daily mass. UCLA has daily mass, and they have all of the functions of 2 full-time priests and all of those things. So they do get some opposition. It's a commuter school, so it's a little more challenging because they don't have, as intentional a community there all day. But even these small groups of students are just taking the lead, and they're just so happy when priests or religious can come. I mean, it's been a tough year for the church. Well, tough last 6 months, obviously, with everything going on. Sister and I, if you could have seen the enthusiasm and the love and the joy of those 17,000 students in Indianapolis 2 weeks ago. Father, thank you for your vocation. Sister, we love you, cheering for us as we walk through. I mean, this is amazing. You would think they would be, no, we can do all this without the priests. We don't need them anymore. Absolutely not. They have a hunger and thirst for Christ in the Eucharist and in confession. They want and need their priests. But they want us to be holy. They want us to be authentic. They want us to be real. But they also realize that a couple bad apples don't spoil the whole bunch.